So I just spent the last 4 hours playing the Switch 2, and I really want to talk to you about it. I obviously want to talk about the console itself, and I will also do that, but I really want to talk about the games. So I'm gonna just tell you first about the games, and then the hardware, I will sprinkle some things in between. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. The first game that I was able to play was Mario Kart World. We were able to play 2 matches, both of them single player, and first we were able to play on the TV, and then we were able to play on the console itself, handheld. And that's where I noticed both this game and this console are pretty cool. The screen is just bright and big, and it feels absolutely amazing. The Joy-Cons and everything in the controllers feels much more premium than on the original Switch. And playing it on the TV, the thing just looks so much, I don't know, like nicer, more 2025. Now, before we continue talking about this, I do have to say that everything in this event was very prepared and very on rails. And what it means, especially in this Mario Kart World, is that you were not able to change basically any settings whatsoever. And everything was set, as far as I know, to 100cc, so it felt kind of slow. And the assist by default was on, which means that you were not able to take crazy shortcuts because the console was basically forcing you to keep on track and on the line. Now, I understand that they did this because all kinds of people go to this event, and you have kids, you have people who generally don't really play this type of games, and you don't want them to have a horrible experience. But as someone like me who has played Mario Kart many times, it did feel kind of weird just being basically forced to follow a certain line. I didn't really like it that much, but it's not really a game problem, it's more like a settings problem. Now, besides this small taste, we were also able to play the knockout modes, which were basically 24 people there, and we all had to fight to be able to not be the last ones in certain checkpoints. And that was by far the most fun mode I've ever played in a Mario Kart ever. It had the same chaos and fun of Mario Kart, but with the tension of having to actually cross the line without being one of the last ones. But what I actually really liked about this mode is that everything felt really long. Between checkpoints, you had to drive for a very long time, very different maps, very different places. Everything just felt super smooth, super nice. I cannot recommend it enough. I'm so hyped to keep playing Mario Kart World. To me, this has been probably the best game I've played today by far, at least in terms of just pure fun. And after that I thought, okay, I'm too hyped, let me just tone it down a little bit and let's play Welcome Tour. Maybe it will surprise me, maybe it will be great. Now, this was a demo that lasted literally for 10 minutes, so we couldn't really play too much of it, and it was quite bad. The first thing that I played here was this mini game where you had to avoid obstacles for as long as you could. I do have to say though, using the mouse on this thing, absolutely incredible. Like, I'm a PC guy, okay? Like, I have this really expensive mouse that is pretty cool and you can change many different settings and stuff, but this Switch 2 mouse also felt pretty decent. And in this demo, you could actually feel that it was super responsive, really nice. The thing is that the game itself is basically trash. Then there was another one where you had to feel where the focus point was based on how much the Joy-Con was rumbling. I mean, okay, it's fine, I guess. Then there was some maraca stuff that you also have to checkpoint some different things. That was barely even a game. And my 10 minutes basically finished when I was in the middle of a quiz, which is not the most exciting thing ever, but yeah, that's what it is. Now, the person from the stand told us that each of these mini games have some kind of extra challenges, that if you fulfill them, you get some coins, and then those coins serve you to actually have some more difficult challenges within the mini game, which is all great. It's just that the mini games themselves are just the most basic, boring thing ever. So I have no idea how Nintendo thought that it would be a good idea to charge $10 for this, but this is where we are. I think that for small kids, people who maybe this is the first console, might be interesting, but I still think that this should have been free. But who knows, maybe it will surprise me. I will actually get it, I will buy it, I will review it, and it could be that after 3, 4, 5, 10 hours, I will actually enjoy it. I don't know, but these 10 minutes were not that promising, to be honest. Now, following to something that I actually was pretty excited about, Kong Bananza. I played it for 20 minutes. It was pretty nice. We had 2 maps that we could actually play. The first one was more of a tutorial area, taught you a little bit of the controls, what you could do, you know, the pretty basic stuff. And the second area was much bigger, more open, they had more secrets, it was kind of a maze, it was pretty nice. Now, the thing with these demos is that they just throw you into the game and you don't really have much of a context on what is going on. And I also felt the pressure to actually do as much as I could in these 20 minutes that I had. So I started like smashing things down, trying to find bananas and secrets everywhere, and it felt very nice, but also kind of chaotic. So I really enjoyed Kong Bananza. It was pretty fun. fun, it just felt a little bit too much. And I also wonder how different it's going to be with different maps. I wonder if they're gonna give us like different abilities or maybe side characters that will appear. I don't really know where the game is gonna go, and that's the question mark for me. But the beginning, at least, it was pretty fun, and I think that a lot of people are gonna enjoy it. Now, in some videos, some other people said that this game didn't really run very well and that there was stuttering and stuff. I didn't really have any issues with it. I have no idea if we had some new performance patches in this demo or if I just got lucky or something, but I didn't really feel that the game was struggling in any part whatsoever. And I tried to destroy it as much as I could. Now, I do have to say though that once you are like smashing and crashing and destroying everything, sometimes the camera doesn't really focus on you super well, and that's the only thing that I felt that was kind of deserved in the criticism. Yeah, the camera is not absolutely fantastic. Personally, didn't really cause any issues, but if you have someone who hates that the camera is always moving around doing crazy stuff, maybe this game is not really for you. Another game that I really wanted to try it was this Drag X Drive, this multiplayer basketball wheelchair robot type of game thingy. I just like sports games that are arcadey and weird and a little bit different, so this game clearly excited me. But I do have to say that I didn't like it too much. Now, first we had some kind of tutorial where they taught us how to move this thing, how to shoot, you know, the basic stuff. It lasted for 4 or 5 minutes, and in there I already found a big problem. And this big problem is that you have to play this game with 2 hands, where the controllers have to be both a mouse, and in order to move you have to constantly drag the Joy-Con over and over and over again. That's completely fine for the first 30 seconds. After 3 minutes, my hands were just hurting from the weird position. And we had the perfect condition to do it. There was a really large mat where we could move around and everything was nice, but again, it was just not great. They did tell us that you could also use your legs to actually do the mouse thingy, and that was much better, but I do have to say that after the tutorial plus the match, in total it was maybe 10-15 minutes, I just didn't really want to play anymore because it was not very comfortable. I like the idea of the movement, but it was just too much. I hope there are some kind of alternative controls where you can use the joystick or do something else, because if not, I have no idea how this game is gonna survive after 6 months. I do believe people are just gonna get too tired of it. And then we need to talk about the game itself. And to be honest, I didn't really like it too much because I kind of sucked at it. It was just weird to know where you were and where the ball was and be able to go to a certain place. It's like basically playing Rocket League, but even more restrictive. Now, in a perfect world, I think that you can buy this game, play it, have some fun with the tutorial, maybe have some kind of single player stuff. I have no idea if there's even a single player, I don't know, but I hope that there is something like that. Play that, jump into the online, and after like 1 or 2 hours of training, understanding how the controls work and all that stuff, just have some fun. And I do think that there's gonna be some people that will have some fun with this game. But in the 10 minutes that I played with the game, I just felt kind of like tired and I didn't really have a lot of fun. I have no idea if I'm gonna buy it or not. I'm still kind of curious to see if spending a bit more time with it, I will get to this point where I really love it and I gel with it. But after I played it today, I don't think I will do it, to be honest. And the last thing I tried were a bunch of third parties: Hogwarts Legacy, Cyberpunk 2077, and Split Fiction. Wait a second, that's not true. I actually was editing this video and I remembered that I didn't even mention Metroid Prime 4. What is wrong with me? I think that we played one of the initial areas. It did look quite simple, very linear, lots of tutorial stuff. It ended up in a boss battle that was quite awesome, but for the rest, 10 minutes wasn't even enough to cover what this game has to offer. Having said that, from all of the exclusives, this is probably one of the best looking ones, but if I really want to judge what this game is about or what it has to offer, I would have to spend around, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 more hours. These 10 minutes were not enough. I do have to say that all of them actually run pretty decently and they look pretty decently for being a Switch. If you compare this to something like the PS5 Pro or even the PS5, it's obviously going to look kind of worse. As I said before, I actually play on my PC, and my PC is kind of an old machine, so I don't really play on 4K ultra resolution. So when I looked at these games, I was like, okay, you know, they look pretty nice. Cyberpunk looked pretty decent. Hogwarts Legacy was running well and they looked pretty good. So I was pretty surprised by it, to be honest. So yeah, we played those games, was great. About Cyberpunk 2077, I do have something to say. I played this game with a Switch 2 Pro controller, more about that later, but I have to say, I suck when it comes to playing an FPS with an actual controller. There was actually someone there from CD Projekt Red, and I asked her if they were going to implement this controller stuff of the Switch 2 in Cyberpunk, and she said yes, it was gonna be available. I was not able to test it, but apparently will be there when the game launches. I think it's the same day as the Switch 2, 5th of June. So I'm actually pretty excited about this. And I don't mean the 3 games only, but the idea that third parties now seem to be working decently well. Now I understand that the Switch 2 doesn't have the same power as a PS5, but the fact that you can at least port something like Hogwarts Legacy or Cyberpunk 2077 into a console like the Switch 2 and make it look and run decently well, I think that's a pretty big W. Maybe in the future this doesn't happen, and maybe there are some games that are impossible to port on the Switch 2. That can happen, but the fact that now these really demanding and good-looking games, you can just play them on the Switch 2 and pick them up and take it on the go and do whatever you want with them, I mean, that's pretty big. So this was my experience in this Nintendo Switch 2 experience. A few things that I also want to talk about, more specifically about the hardware. Now, as I said, the screen, might not be OLED, so it doesn't have all those crisp blacks, but at the same time, it still looks good, it's big, it's bright, it's everything that you need in a console like this. The Joy-Cons are also much better. I kind of hate the Joy-Cons from the original Switch. They are small, not very ergonomic, the buttons feel horrible, the joysticks themselves are bad. I mean, there were lawsuits about them, and these new ones just feel 100 times better. Now, are they better than the Xbox controller or the PlayStation controller? I don't really know, I cannot really say right now, but what I felt at least is that coming from the Switch, the jump to the Switch 2 is just much more premium. Everything in the console just feels a little bit better. Which then also leads me to the Pro Controller, which I haven't really had a lot of time to play with it. I think I only played it with Cyberpunk, if I remember correctly. So that was like 10-15 minutes. Not a lot of time. With the original Switch, I would say, look, you have to buy the Pro Controller if you want to play with this thing for more than a couple of hours. It is a must-have. With this one, though, the difference is still there, but I think that the original Joy-Cons are just good enough. And then I have 5 million questions that have not been answered. I would like to know how the UI works. I would like to know how the game insert works. Someone told me that now they also fix some of the game inserts that before were kind of clunky and not working very well, and now it's much better. We were not able to test that. I also don't know anything about retrocompatibility. Does the Pro Controller of the original Switch work very well with the Switch 2? Do I have to do some kind of magic to make it work? I don't know. And I try to ask some questions here and there, but most people are either we don't know or, we cannot really tell you anything about it. So there are still a lot of questions about this console, but I have to say that these first couple of hours that I spent with it, I came out feeling kind of relief. Relief that the games that I'm actually excited about seem to be working really well. Relief that there are so many third parties in this console, not just working well and actually looking good, but also that the developers themselves seem to be pretty excited about it. And relief that hardware-wise, everything seems to be top-notch. Obviously, we still have questions. Obviously, things can change, and we're not gonna know if there's gonna be some kind of Joy-Con Drift 2.0 or if there's going to be some major issues with the hardware. We will not know until weeks or months or years afterwards. But these first impressions are great. I understand the console is not the cheapest thing in the world. Yes, Mario Kart World looks great, but 80 euros or $80 is still a lot of money to ask for it. But at least it seems that everything is well done and is kind of nice. So yeah, I'm actually excited I was able to buy this thing, and that now in, 3-4 weeks, it should be here sooner or later. Now I'll be able to play it, I will be able to talk about it with you, and I will be able to hopefully enjoy the future of it, because it does look pretty bright. Now, I talked about retrocompatibility in this video when it comes to hardware, but not really when it comes to software. I talk about all of this right here, so see you there.